Hi everyone, it's me, Mrs. Louderback, and I'm going to walk you through your learning today. It's an important day because we're going to talk about patterns and plate boundaries. So we're going to add some vocabulary to our glossary slide. You also need to analyze the patterns in plate boundaries and earthquakes, and then use a sim to determine, to investigate, I kind of overdid too much here, but to determine and investigate plate motion and earthquakes, okay? So when I go to Google Classroom, I have the B-Day slides 12 through 13. I open it up and these are the slides I'm going to work on and complete today in class or at home. When I'm done with these slides, slides 2, 3, and 4, I'm going to add them into my notebook, okay, which is already bookmarked somewhere in your web browser, all right? I kind of talked about that a lot. Make sure your growing interactive notebook is added to your browser, all right? So as of right now, I have 11 slides. At the end of this, I'm gonna have 14, okay? So you already have your glossary here. What we need to do is make sure that cross-section, mantle, plate, and earthquake, cross-section, mantle, plate, and earthquake are in your glossary terms as well. So I made sure that the first one and the first one of all the slides I give you will be the glossary page because this is growing and I want to make sure that my remote learners have easy access to this as well. All right, so the first thing we're going to do today is we're going to do a mapping of plate boundaries activity. If you are in the classroom, we're going to do a little activity involving transparency and two types of maps, a plate boundary map and a map of earthquakes that take place on the earth. That take place around the world. All right, if you are working remotely from home, you're going to do this activity on the slide here. It does say to use a stylus, but I find that the stylus feature doesn't work a whole lot on the Google Drawing. So using the mouse works pretty decently. But if you want to download it as a Kami assignment and work on it that way, you can do that as well. So as always, to get the earthquake map to pull up or any link to work, I have to be in presentation mode and it'll load. I click here to get the link working and it's going to ask me to make a copy of the earthquake map. And I wasn't sure how well my internet is, so I'm going to use the one I already pulled up because I kind of figured it would be a little quicker. My internet's a little slow at home. You want to use the line feature, and we want to scroll down from the line to scribble, okay? And then I've got my little scribble feature along. I also want to make sure that my line is red and I want to do kind of a bolder color here, all right? And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to scribble along where the earthquakes are, okay? They almost make a little pattern, a little edging, and I'm just going to follow along where all those dots take place, all right? Because it looks as though these dots make a signified little motion. So you're kind of just playing connect the dots. It's actually kind of fun. It's almost like relaxing in a way. Dare I say relaxing? And then I do realize that some of these will get a little harder and you kind of have to guess a little bit, but you're just kind of moving along and you're trying to guess where the plate boundaries are based on the earthquake locations. All right, so I'm just going to stop there. There's more you can do. When I'm done, I'm going to screenshot this. So you kind of need to go back to the mouse side, but if I feel like I'm done, I'm going to screenshot this. To do that, and I want to be selective on my screenshot, okay? To do that, I'm going to click Control-Shift, and then at the top of your keyboard is a key that has a square and two lines next to it, and it makes the screen dark. What I'm doing is a selective screenshot. So now I can just select the area I want to screenshot, and I can just copy that down, and it comes over here, and I'm going to copy it to my clipboard. It's also in my Google Drive. All right, and that way I don't have to get all the web browser stuff. I just get the material I want. And then I go back to Google Classroom, and of course I'm a teacher view, so it's a little different, but there's always like an add button or upload button. I'll upload my Google image here. If at first you're like completely worried, you can always add it in the Google slide, but I would prefer you add it in an image here. After I do that, my next thing is to look at the mapping of the plate boundaries, and I really want to make sure if I notice any similarities between the map of the earthquakes and the map of the plate boundaries. I've also given you a map of both right here if you click this link. So if we're in class, we'll kind of go over this together. If you're working remotely from home, you want to click on this link here and make some critical assessment of the map and go back to the questions here. Like, what do you notice about where earthquakes occur in relation to plate boundaries? Does there seem to be a pattern or connection between the location of plate boundaries and earthquakes? Does this pattern exist in one area of the earth or throughout the whole world? We want to answer all three of these questions, ideally in complete sentences. It's going to make your life a little easier when we start writing our paragraphs. All right. Ultimately, you want to kind of be very observant in your maps and kind of think about any patterns you foresee happening. The last thing you're going to do is the earthquakes and plate motion. You're going to investigate, do earthquakes cause plate motion? You'll use the plate motion sim to create earthquakes and collect evidence. After pressing run, you'll make sure that the earthquake switch is on, and your evidence will help you decide which claim best supports. So we're trying to decide, does plate motion cause earthquakes? Or claim 2, do earthquakes cause plate motion? So we're going to pick one of these claims and explain our reasoning behind it. And I have more detailed directions here to the side if you need it. But ultimately, you're going to click on the link and you will open up the plate motion sim. You want to select region 2. And this is the fun part about region 2 with the sim. Over here, we get to add or remove continents, and you get to draw the continents where you would like them to be. Okay, so maybe I want like a little triangle shape here. Maybe I just want like a little circle. Okay, so I can decide how I want my continents to be. It wants you to pick a boundary. You're going to do both boundaries. There's divergent and convergent to pick from. I'll do convergent for now. And then you will click run. When I click run, I want to make sure I pay attention to the cross-section view. I also need to pay attention to this plate boundary line. And then I need to make sure I click toggle so I can see where the earthquakes take place. Ultimately, I want to know, does plate motion cause earthquakes or do earthquakes cause plate motion? So I click run, toggle the earthquakes. Okay, so as the plate boundary is occurring, I see the earthquakes are taking place. They're kind of moving in a similar direction, but getting a little closer to each other. All right. Okay, so then at that point, I'm going to pause and I'm going to redo it again. So I'm going to click the reset button, reset the time, and I'm going to build again. And this time I'm going to change my boundary to divergent. And I want you to make your observations here and think about what is taking place on my observations. All right. Afterwards, go back to the Amplify, the B-Day slides. Consider the claims, and then you want to type your claim that you think is the best and explain your reasoning why. You want to talk about the observations that took place in the sim. When you are done with these slides, what we're going to do is we're going to copy and paste the slides into our Amplify notebook. So I've got my notebook here. I'm going to actually move it closer. So this is my notebook with all of the slides. So we stopped at slide 11 last time. So to copy, I'm going to select slide 2 of my B-Day slides. I'm going to push the Shift key down on the keyboard, and then I'm going to select slides 3 and 4. So they're all selected. Now I'm going to right-click and copy. To do that on your Chromebook, you use 2 fingers and you double tap on the touchpad. Okay, I click copy. I go to the slides I want to insert it to. I'm going to go after slide 11, and then I'm going to paste the slides in. Again, to do that, you Control V, or you can double tap the mouse pad with 2 fingers, and always link to the original. Always link to the original. That way that any changes you make on one, it should ideally, according to my reading, change it on the other. And then there we go. I've got slides 12, 13, and 14 all in my Google slide. All right, once you have that done, the only other thing I want you to look at is this little website here, Tectonic Plates, Earthquakes, and Volcanoes. And this is a interactive feature. It will require a flash player, so sometimes when I pull it up, it may say not secure or it may say blocked. You just need to click on this little screen here that says not secure or blocked. And then sometimes you just have to allow it. It'll give you like an option to say allow or site settings. And you can go to the site settings. And so I would allow the Flash player or JavaScript to work. Okay. But back to this area here, we want to kind of look at the map of the world. And we want to make the connection that, earthquakes, volcanoes, and plate boundaries all happen within the same location. Okay, so geologists look for patterns on the Earth to make connections about geologic events, geological hazard events like earthquakes and volcanoes. And what's great about these maps is it tells me that anywhere two plates meet, which is a plate boundary is where two or more plates meet, all right? A geologic event is likely to take place. A geologic hazard is likely to take place. And I see that holds true, that these areas that have plate boundaries, okay, right here, these lines that have plate boundaries, I am more likely to see a volcano or an earthquake to occur. So that's kind of the big picture here. Plate boundaries are linked to volcanoes and earthquakes. And at a plate boundary, we see the plates are moving. And because of the plate movement, we get earthquakes and volcanoes. So plate motion causes earthquakes. I hope you guys are having a good day. And if you have any questions or concerns, please, please, please make sure you email. All right. Other than that, I'm gonna leave it here with our key concept, and I will see you soon. Bye.